Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Indiana Jones with another discovery.
Just ran across a very interesting video talking about a biblical conspiracy that basically states that all the gods from other religions do exist, but instead of them actually being gods, they're just the fallen angels that got kicked out of heaven. Based on this perspective, when Satan and a third of his angels got kicked out of heaven, they immediately began roaming the earth, tricking people into believing they were gods, thus creating new religions in the process. And history is repeating itself. The same thing is happening today, only instead of them coming in the form of ancient Egyptian gods, they're coming in the form of UFOs and aliens, specifically trying to sell the idea that they're from a distant planet or galaxy and not at all connected to demons or any of our religions. I've always found it very interesting that the way aliens are believed to look, being humanoid-like beings or humans that shapeshift into animals like reptiles, has similarities to the biblically accurate angel known as a cherubim, which has the likeness of a man but the faces of different animals. There's actually an interesting theory that talks about how humanoid beings implement themselves within a society right before that society disappears or collapses, and there's actually a bit of evidence behind it.
Nothing is new under the sun, guys. Nothing is new under the sun. What I mean by that, like, you got your Greeks, mythology. You got Asians with their, gods and dragons and stuff. Maybe once upon a time it was real. Maybe it's just like on rotation every 2,000-3,000 years. For all we know, we perish. They come back to life. Because, you see all this weird stuff coming out the oceans, guys. That's just my theory, I'm just talking.
People are starting to notice that we've had really strange weather phenomena in the last couple weeks. It all started when people began recording and reporting red lightning all over the sky. According to scientists, this red lightning, also known as red sprites, has always been around, but people are still finding it strange, seeing as how it came out of almost nowhere. On New Year's Eve, lightning struck the US Capitol, the Washington Monument, and the Empire State Building. And although lightning does typically strike high points, some people believe that all three of these buildings being struck on the same day is more than a coincidence. To top it all off, people all over the UK, Canada, and the US are reporting a very dense and mysterious fog. What's really strange is that the people recording it claim that the fog is giving off a very metallic smell, as well as giving them headaches, a cough, and sickness in general after encountering it. This has led to multiple theories. While some believe that the fog was purposely implemented to cover up something in the sky, others believe that nanoparticles or smart dust has been sprayed.
I've seen this experiment before where they put this magnet on the circular Hot Wheels type thing. Then you know that an aurora borealis actually appears directly in the center of this thing, which gets many people to suspect that the aurora borealis at the North Pole is actually some type of portal. And now, just recently, a larger structure that is supposedly just a work of art that looks a lot like that science experiment we just saw has been built in Detroit, of all places, which has got many people thinking that whoever built this, maybe they are actually trying to create a portal and escape to somewhere. Now, in my opinion, I don't think that we actually have the technology to create a portal, but I think that whoever builds these, they do it for the imagery factor to show people what they actually believe in. Because I do think that there's a secret underground religion that's super weird, and they have to put their truth in plain sight. Because they got the Fibonacci sequence that has to do with the Mandelbrot set here, and they also had sculptures of demons around this site too, and it's right next to a Scientology building. But all this talk about the North Pole actually being a portal has got me thinking about this time that this one guy was texting me and telling me that he went beyond the ice wall or to a new land, and he got there by flying to the North Pole, which has a secret hole there, which he won't tell me the exact location of. But what if the Northern Lights are actually like some sort of transportation device? And maybe this guy did make it to some whole faraway secret land. Maybe it was Agartha, or maybe there actually are continents beyond the ice wall. But I don't even know. This is just, there's so much crazy stuff in this world, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of it. And I thought that science experiment that guy did with the magnet, because I know magnetism has a lot to do with all this. Mandelbrot, if you don't know what that is, look that up. and the Fibonacci sequence. I know it has a lot to do with that. And I do think that there is secret technology hidden that we don't have access to. And I just know there are a lot of secrets out there, and I think it's definitely possible that the Northern Lights are actually
You know, I like the way that he brought the fact that there possibly could be portals, but nobody ever talks about the Paris one. Paris one has, one that looks not exactly like it, but damn near. And it makes me wonder if they have math equations, whenever you're looking at it, of what it is, if it's a monument or whatever. Makes me wonder if I need to Google that on Google Maps or something and just see if somebody has pictures of it posted somewhere. And maybe if they do have it, like what this video had for the Detroit one, makes me wonder if you can see similar, drawings or whatever.
But now we're going to go back in time, and I'm going to ask you who you think did each of these huge events, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The killing of MLK Jr.
That was a CIA operation because they considered him a dangerous communist. And both the FBI was bugging in churches where he was giving some of his speeches in churches. They were bugging the podiums and following him around. He was a top target for elimination.
JFK.
I think that was a CIA hit, and they may have employed some mafia connections to carry it out because that was their mafia assassination program.
Exactly. LBJ was very involved in all that in Dallas. And so
he was an evil man.
He was an evil man. Okay, what about Pearl Harbor?
They knew the attack was coming. They knew where it was going to happen in Pearl Harbor and when. And they told no one, and they let it happen on purpose. That's from the commander of the Pacific Fleet. I would say that's a pretty credible witness. So, yeah. That was a false flag.
They've admitted that. They admitted they heard it was going to happen. And, how else were you going to get Americans to be on the side of this war? That had nothing to do with us. Which brings us to 9/11. Your opinion?
My opinion. As a criminal investigator, as a former CIA officer, 9/11 was not the act of a bunch of poorly flight-trained terrorists that executed an unbelievably meticulous piloting of those aircraft. Even pilots, there's pilots for 9/11 Truth now, and they say we could not have done that. Experienced pilots could not have made those maneuvers. Not possible. And then we go to the passport issue, and we go to the Tower 7, which was a controlled demolition.
Obviously.
You talk to any structural engineer, and I have. Well, that was a controlled demolition. I mean, it was perfect. And the fact, I think George W. Bush blacked out, I think it was 40 pages of the 9/11 report dealing with Saudi Arabia. And the report came out, the 9/11 Commission report came out, but those pages were blacked out, and he refused to unredact them. So wait a minute, this report was supposed to be for the American people on what happened, and you blacked all these pages out? What in the world? I do not think that it was a bunch of poorly trained or untrained terrorists that did it. I think there was another source behind it. I think it was intentional. And I'm going just from a criminal investigative perspective, just looking at the evidence, what evidence we have, that was an intentional act. And it would fall right into the MO that you and I are talking about. Horrible event. Because human life does not matter to the shadow government deep state, or especially the CIA. It does not matter. They're pawns on their chessboard. They don't care that 3,000 people were horribly killed that day. But it achieved the aim of gutting the U.S. Constitution, bringing in the horrific Patriot Act, giving the CIA unthinkable authority for secret prisons and torture beyond waterboarding and secret renditions and all of that. The FBI, the ability to spy on Americans, came out of the Patriot Act. So it was the perfect national security state energizer that the Patriot Act was, and 70 of the congressmen and senators that read the Patriot Act didn't even read it. They just signed off.
America, America. If y'all know what I mean by that, man, y'all know what I mean. If you know, you know. I'm gonna say less. Like, it's always our country, I honestly feel like I need to flee from this country and just go to Canada somewhere, because Everything here is just, it's killing us, guys. Killing us. Whether it's the food or the people. And then they say, oh, have faith in the military, have faith in the Senate. I mean, look what happened in Star Wars when they trusted their Senate. I'm just saying, movies always try to warn us, guys.
That I hadn't already seen, but I completely stopped watching horror. And I did so for a couple reasons. So I talk a lot about sound and music on here, and one of the things that made me come to the conclusion about music being not the best for us was that I was reading this study about horror movies, where they said that if you get too scared when you're watching a movie, you should cover your ears and not your eyes, because it's actually the infrasound that scares you. And infrasound is an inaudible sound that they record from like earthquakes and volcanoes and like atomic bombs and stuff, and they add it in the background of horror movies and a lot of like rap songs to create like atmospheric effects. And then I started learning that a lot of horror movies, when they're like casting spells or like speaking in tongues, but like the bad version, I don't know if there's a different name for that, they're using like legit spells. I had no idea. Like, if you actually translate them, they are using legitimate spells. So when you go to see it or you put it like on your TV in your home, now like that spell is like there. And then I started to think about how demonic entities feed off of fear and negative emotion. And then when you look at it from the standpoint of sacred geometry and stuff like that, what we perceive and give our energy to is like what materializes. So we're like all going to see these big scary movies and giving energy to these evil forces. I don't say that to say that like Pennywise is going to come out of the screen. I'm just saying like we're probably feeding into evil forces. Our eyes are the windows to our souls. So watching scary movies, you know what I mean? Like, you're looking at like disturbing images. This one's gonna rustle some feathers, but this also really applies to true crime. I used to listen to true crime podcasts every day. And when I was listening to the most true crime and watching horror movies like almost every day, I was so anxious, I probably needed medication. Like, I could hardly function. So yeah, this was one of the hardest pills for me personally to swallow, because I loved horror, but I refuse to watch it anymore. Like, I can't tell you the last time I've watched a horror movie. I'm not judging anybody that still chooses to, but proceed with caution if you do.
This just reminds me of Stranger Things. If y'all haven't seen it on Netflix yet, man, y'all really need to look into it with detail. Like, especially the first, I believe it's the first season when her kid gets lost and stuff like that. Like, when you feed onto something, it tends to like find its way within our realm, should I say. And that's exactly what happened in Stranger Things, guys. Like,
this is why you don't ever buy a bird off of Craigslist. And this video comes from TikTok user K-Sue. I'll tag it below. And after purchasing a bird off of Craigslist, which is a free website where you can post local ads, she begins to record when the bird starts mimicking voices late at night when she's home alone. Now it should be noted that many of the commenters were left terrified, while others remained skeptical. But here's that clip. Take a look.
My eye hurts. Hello, gorgeous. Hey, girl. There you go. Hello, gorgeous. You can go to sleep. I'm not gonna hurt you. Pretty girl. Hello, gorgeous. It's okay. I'm not gonna hurt you. You gotta sleep.
why would you even buy a bird like that, yo? That's like asking for Alexa to come at you now. I feel like that's going to be Alexa's next move. When Alexa first came out, it was doing weird stuff to people in their sleep. If they start building Alexa and these robotic birds, next thing you know, it's going to be a cat, a dog. I mean, come on, guys. Be smarter, people. Well, guys, that's the video. Appreciate y'all for watching. If you have any more information or links or whatever, please leave them down in the description below. And please follow on all accounts, guys, if y'all enjoyed this video. And until then, it's your boy Indiana Jones with another discovery.